What could the backstory be? They forgot her for the wedding. The adults here suck. Marriage, and this is all the mom's idea. Oh, that's so funny. I didn't think she would actually pop out. Someone's cutting onions. According to all the grocery store decor that I've been seeing, it is now officially spooky season, guys. That means it's fall, the weather is getting a little bit chillier, the colors of the leaves are changing, and it is pumpkin farm time, pumpkin everything. Although I'm not a big fan of pumpkin spice lattes, pumpkin everything, at least in the spirit of it. Now, I'm very excited because recently I've been into thrillers. Okay, who am I kidding? I'm always into thrillers, but in particular, I've been watching this movie called Cube. Now, Cube is great if you love puzzles, you love a little bit of doom and gloom, and a little bit of thrill. Which brings me to today's Reddit stories. Not that there's gonna be doom and gloom, but there's definitely a thrill factor in the unexpected petty revenges. So I'm excited to dive into these Reddit stories with you guys. I'm V, and you're tuned into Honey Hearts. Let's get into our stories. So our first story is from the subreddit AITH. Am I the a-hole for exposing my parents when they forgot about me on their wedding? So the too long didn't read version is, my parents were married a couple of weeks ago in Hawaii, and they invited my siblings and a few friends, but forgot to include me in any part of the planning, the ceremony, or the trip. So I exposed them on social media, and now they're furious. I'm not gonna lie, the ending of the summary, I thought OP was actually gonna say, I exposed them on social media and now they're famous. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, parents are probably a little bit famous and furious. So OP explains, I know this seems like a weird situation, but I just feel so angry and depressed that I feel the need to vent, even if no one's listening. So I, 17-year-old female, was recently forgotten about on the day of my parents' wedding. My parents have been together for about 25 years, but they never actually got married. That's why when my dad, 50-year-old male, proposed to my mother, 49-year-old female, on their anniversary, which they've always celebrated on the date my mother found out she was pregnant with my eldest sister, even though they were already together before, everyone, including me, was elated and celebrated the occasion with great joy. This happened all the way back in February. They immediately jumped into wedding planning, deciding very early on a small event in Hawaii with just the closest friends and families for an intimate ceremony. Oh, that sounds so romantic. Like a romantic, well, I said romantic multiple times, like a lovely, intimate wedding in Hawaii. Oh, sounds beautiful. Opie says, almost immediately, my mother asked my sister, 25-year-old female, to be her maid of honor, and my dad asked my brother, 22-year-old male, to be his groomsman. I wasn't surprised or offended by this. My sister had always been a mommy's girl, and they both enjoyed spending time with each other and shopping and socializing, so they had a very close bond. And the same goes for my father and brother. They always played football together and messed around with cars. My father even trained my brother's team for a while in middle school. They'd always left me as the odd one out. I tried to insert myself on my family's hobbies and groups that they had within our home, but was always rebuffed. Maybe they could sense that my interest on their activities wasn't all that genuine, or maybe they just didn't care. Either way, I was used to being the last and least important member of my family. Mom had sis and dad had bro. My parents had each other, and my two siblings were closer to each other than they ever were to me, leaving me very lonely and isolated in my own home. This sounds so sad. Opie sounds like the black sheep of the family. She says, during the preparation for the wedding, initially it was suggested that I be the flower girl. But my sister thought that role would be more appropriate for her daughter, 3-year-old female. So that idea was quickly tossed away. Later on, my maternal grandmother suggested that I might read a poem or do a little bit of a speech during the ceremony. But both my parents refused because they wanted the wedding to be, quote, low key, and they didn't think a cheesy and sappy speech would fit their vision. Their literal words. I was still okay with all this, even though it hurt to know I would be the only member of the family to not actually be part of the wedding party or have any role at all on the day. As the day approached, my parents and siblings got more and more caught up on all the wedding planning. I noticed my mom didn't invite me dress shopping, and that whenever they had discussions about the venue or the event, I was left out. So I decided to see if they would realize that I wasn't being involved at all and kept quiet, waiting for them to ask me anything about the wedding, but that never happened. That's so weird. See, I am usually team bride and team groom in terms of whatever they want goes for their wedding. I think it's fine. It's not like they had to include their daughter in the wedding dress shopping or planning process or discussion. I mean, I know she's young, so maybe that might be part of it. But to not say anything is weird. Wouldn't you usually gush about it? I mean, you're a happy bride. I'm thinking the mom is talking to eldest sister. She's saying, "Oh, the dress is going to be great. It's this, it's that. Oh, we're going to pick these colors. We're going to go here." I mean, I'm just thinking back to discussions I have with my girlfriends about their wedding or when I'm planning mine. And we're usually there's a rapport, there's a back and forth of excitement and exchange, or even with my sister or my mom. So it's very weird that OP is completely excluded because it's not like she's so young to not be aware. I mean, she's 17. So let's continue with what OP says. She says the wedding was set for 3 weeks ago, the end of August. The day before the departure, my mom casually asked if I had my luggage ready because we couldn't be late to the airport. I bluntly told her that I hadn't prepared anything. She got confused for a second and then snapped at me for not being prepared. I then asked her if I even had a ticket and her face went pale. Yep, they hadn't even bought me a ticket, and I'm not even sure if I had room or any accommodations once there. Even though I was the only person in my family without a stable income, I work as a part time babysitter. My parents had bought first class tickets for my siblings and the couple other friends that were attending the wedding but had forgotten me. My mom told me not to make a big deal out of it and that they can just find me a low cost ticket last minute from a cheap airline. But I just replied by asking her, "Then what? Do I even have a dress for the ceremony?" She went with sis to buy hers and all the other female guests months ago, but I wasn't included. See, I have a theory about some of these stories. When one sibling in particular is so left out to the point of isolation, I mean, this is giving, what is it, Home Alone, but worse? Oh my God, she's being home alone. Her mom literally is planning on stranding her there. I'm calling it. That's how they're going to forget. They're going to all drive in a car, go to the airport, get on the flight, land in Hawaii, have the wedding, and afterwards go, "Oh, where's my daughter?" Or even, actually, I don't think they care, to be honest. This is crazy. So you're telling me on the list of priorities, the mom and dad got themselves, obviously, a first class ticket. Her siblings, so brother and sister got one, probably their families too, and family friends. And then at the very bottom of the barrel, "Oh, yeah, let's get you a low cost ticket." I mean, there's nothing wrong with low cost tickets, but come on, everyone else is flying first class. OP, are you sure you're not adopted? Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm saying this feels like either an evil stepmother situation or stepmother stepfather situation, or you have some crazy origin story of your real birth or real birth parents, because I can't believe that they just treat you so differently from your siblings. It makes me think that maybe there's something there. So let's see if we'll find out what happens. OP says, "That's when my father came in and just told me to suck it up and that I've never been a girly girl, so I could just wear whatever." I got mad at this because even though I'm not the most feminine girl on the planet, I would have loved to be included in such an important part of my parents' wedding. And it was about the fact that I was excluded for literally everything that had been going on for months. We all got into a fight with them, calling me entitled and accusing me of making myself small intentionally so they would forget me. Like, that's a valid excuse for ignoring a child. They ended up telling me that if I was going to keep this attitude, I might as well skip the whole thing altogether. To which I responded with a defiant, "Fine," and went to my room. Next morning, they all left for Hawaii without me. Oh my gosh, they literally home alone to her. And isn't this a little nasty to say to your kid? I get it. Maybe things get heated in argument, but this is your wedding ceremony. And you told your kid, "Oh, keep up the attitude. Maybe you should just skip it." It almost sounds like they wanted her to insist on staying home or to skip it. I don't know. There didn't seem to be any signs of them actually wanting her there. Ovi continues, "The ceremony was really small, but they all posted loads of pictures on Insta and Facebook about how perfect and magical that whole week was being. People quickly realized that I wasn't in any of the photos and asked my parents why, to which they replied that unfortunately I had caught COVID before the trip and had to stay behind. My blood boiled at this. I don't know why this was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, but it was. I decided to take a COVID test and published a picture of myself holding the negative test and captioned it, quote, 'Not sick at all, just forgotten.' I tagged everyone that had questioned my absence from the trip and the wedding in the picture, and for good measure, also every person invited to it. I also wrote in the comments about how my parents had literally forgotten about anything to do with me until the day before parting and how they actually uninvited me. Most people were on my side, and others couldn't believe it and thought there must be something more to the story than what I was saying. But one thing is for certain, I completely ruined my parents' wedding, and their day was overshadowed by my confession. At first, I felt quite satisfied with myself for standing up on my own, but after a barrage of messages from my family calling me every name in the book, and later when they came back, them furiously attacking me for my immature actions and my spoiled behavior, my pride deflated quickly. And I began to feel awful. I hate my family and I hate being in this house. But I'm a minor and can't leave just yet. I do feel like I could have handled the situation better though. And now I feel so depressed, I'm second guessing everything I did, from not speaking up before to the way I exposed them. I also feel guilty for the lack of connection between all of my family and me, and maybe I could have done more. So, am I the a hole for ruining my parents' wedding when they forgot about me? Now, in this story, Opie's parents completely forgot her and excluded her from the wedding. But if you guys have been enjoying this episode, I hope you guys don't forget to like this video and hit subscribe. Thanks, guys. Ah, I feel so bad for OP. I mean, was it petty? Yeah. But when you really think about it, what did she do? She just told the truth, right? She just said, I don't have COVID. They forgot, which is what happened. Yeah, she tagged everyone that went to the wedding, but her parents were also spreading the lie that, oh, yeah, she's just out sick. I mean, if you don't want your daughter there, I'd rather that the parents just own up to it and say, yeah, we didn't want her here. To then pin the blame, in a sense, I feel like they're kind of pinning the blame of her absence on her, even with the sick excuse. Like, come on. And also, what were they thinking? Because OP doesn't talk about it. So I'm assuming they never called her to say, oops, we totally forgot. Here's money for the ticket or something. I mean, usually, if the parents had actually wanted her there, I feel like they would have bought the ticket and just left on the table or something for her anyway. Or on the day of, like, been like, hey, come on, let's go. We're going. We're getting married. Let's put this aside. Let's put the spat aside. But no, they just let it be. It's so bizarre. I mean, I'm still on my theory that maybe there's some crazy origin story behind OP's birth because it just seems so unlikely that parents would randomly isolate one person in the household so severely.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's birth, but there could be some backstory behind it that we don't know about.
What could the backstory be? They forgot her for the wedding. The thing that caught me was they said when they were in a fight with OP, parents said that she was entitled and they accused her of making herself small intentionally so that they would forget her. So I'm assuming OP is a normal sized human being. She cannot simply shapeshift. She is not Mystique from X-Men. She does not have Harry Potter's invisibility cloak. So, how does one intentionally make themselves so small that their own parents forget they exist? It just sounds so crazy. That's like them saying, oh, it's your fault that we didn't book you a first class ticket. They might as well have gone out and just said that. That is wild. So, first comment from Front Rip 4064. Not they hold your parents effed up. They know it. Your siblings also effed up. They also know it. And you weren't making them look bad with your social media posts. You were correcting a lie. I hope you're able to qualify for a full ride scholarship because something tells me you don't have much of a college fund, if any. Oh, you know what? I like that the comment calls out the siblings. I think the siblings are also in the wrong. Also a-holes. Because they're all buddy with the parents. I'm not saying that they're the, I guess, main culprits, but come on. You're basically in cahoots, right? You're all kind of gang up on the one sibling, on the youngest in the house. And the youngest is a child. She's 17. Oh, I feel so bad for her. Another comment from Carrie Ah. Are you sure OP's college fund didn't become the wedding fund? Oh, look. We've been saving this extra money for 17 years. I wonder why. I guess we can finally have that dream wedding we always wanted. Ooh, that's diabolical. Not that parents are entitled to, well, not that children are entitled to, you know, every single asset the parent owns or fully funded college. It would be nice if that were the case. But in this context, I'm really wondering what's going to happen when Opie turns 18 as an adult. I have a feeling these are the type of parents who will go, "Oh, bye. You're 18, you're an adult now. Out the house you go. We don't owe you anything. We've raised you for 18 years. You're done." That's the feeling I'm getting here. That's the vibe I'm getting from these parents. I don't think it would be a stretch. Now, there is an update to this. Part of me hopes that it's a happy one, but let's be honest, the odds of that is very low. All right, so there's an update. OP says, "Hi everyone, I wanted to write an update earlier, but I'm still kind of a mess at the moment. But I figured since my post had such an overwhelming response and so many people commented and sent me messages that I should write about the latest developments. First of all, let me start by thanking all the comments." And then OP continues just thanking people for sharing their thoughts on it. But she continues and says that she says, "I felt somewhat reaffirmed in my actions and feelings towards my family. I'm still fighting the feelings of guilt and depression, but whenever I start to spiral, I think on how much this community of strangers has had my back, and I try to calm myself down with your words. Thanks to your input and advice, I finally decided to call my grandma and tell her the full story. Just to clarify a point before going on, but I feel like I should put it here also. My grandma, 77 years old, female, did not attend the wedding. She lives several states away and has mobility issues, so she doesn't travel anymore. We went to visit her around Easter, and that's when she commented that I might read a poem at the ceremony. But that was the last time I saw her in person before all this. She's always been very loving to me and has called out my parents in the past for their favoritism. But it's hard for her to play a more active role in my upbringing since she lives so far. And I'm always worried about bothering her due to her age and health condition. She had a minor stroke a few years back and is now back to normal, but I still worry." So I think OP's saying this in response to potentially some of the comments advising OP to go to another family member to see if she can live with them or get their support, since her own family seems extremely isolating. Let's call it that. She continues, "Anyway, I called her and laid out everything that happened with the wedding and how my parents didn't even buy me a ticket to go with them. She came to the same conclusion that most commenters did when I told her that it was simply impossible, that they had forgotten and that they did it on purpose. I cried on the phone with her, laying out how I was feeling, how this has been going on forever, how I feel in the aftermath, and most importantly, about my need to get out. She was extremely sweet and comforting to me and told me that I had nothing else to worry about because she had my back 100% and told me to take it easy, but make plans for my future and that she'd help me. After that conversation, which lasted about 2 hours, I felt better and I decided to listen to her and start moving to figure something out for the next school year. I have a friend who's going to lease a studio next to our future campus. She has a great relationship with her parents, but she has 5 younger siblings and wants to be more independent, so that's why she's decided to move out. I asked her if I could move in with her temporarily and that I would pay her rent as soon as I got a job. She immediately accepted and told me not to worry about rent or anything else until I was in a better position. We had a good cry together when I told her all about my parents' wedding incident." Oh, I'm so glad that at least OP has a friend that she can figure out her living situation with. I wonder if we're going to hear an update on the parents. Like, is this the falling out? Are they going to go no contact or what? OP says, "So this all happened a couple days ago and I was planning on doing an update then, but my grandma called my parents and my siblings to lecture them about how they were treating me. My brother just sent me a text afterwards with a half-hearted apology saying that he didn't know I wasn't included and that he just thought I wouldn't have fun on the trip. And then I posted the pic just to create drama. My sister, on the other hand, berated me and told me that I kept trying to make public my own problems and pinning them on my family when they're all innocent." Ooh. Okay, so we got some classic responses. Okay. So once grandma went to yell at them, brother took the approach of, "Oh, yeah, sorry, I guess. So sorry, but you were being a drama queen. I didn't even notice you were gone." Oops. Right. Because OP 17-year-old here must have some sort of invisibility filter on. So even her brother didn't even notice that she wasn't there. You know what's funny? That the parents and the brother are still hanging on to the excuse of, didn't see you, didn't know. forgot, I guess. But yet, the reason why this blew up in the first place was because the guests notice. People who saw the wedding photos notice. Random people on the internet, well, friends and family of OP notice, but her immediate family just conveniently forgot. Okay. And the sister, too, is a piece of work. Oh, yes. Instead of addressing their own issues, just say, how dare you air that dirty laundry out? I'll be honest, I'm usually not a fan of airing out, quote unquote, the dirty laundry. And I prefer to solve my problems on my own sometimes, just because I feel like it's just more low key. I prefer it that way, right? But I think when you don't even have anyone to, I guess, have your back or to support you in your own problems, and there's no way for you to get justice from your immediate circle, yeah, get that public justice. Post those pictures, tag those people. Bring on the internet Armageddon on them. So OP says, it's been weird with my parents ever since they came back from the trip. And at first, they berated me and were furious with me. And after that, we've just been ignoring each other. After my grandma called them, they came into my room telling me that if I wanted to put this whole issue to rest, I should shut up about it and that this could all had blown over if only I had kept my mouth shut. I just asked them to leave my room and then I called my grandma again to tell her what had gone down. She then told me that she and my uncle had bought plane tickets to come down to see me. This was something that I was actually scared about because my grandma's health is not the best, and this kind of effort is a lot for her. And I know how complicated it is for her to get on a plane, so I tried to dissuade her from coming and told her everything would be okay. But she wouldn't listen and told me that she was long overdue a conversation with my parents and that she wanted to see me. I'm stressed for her, and I feel again like I forced her to take a long, uncomfortable trip because of me, and that maybe I should have dealt with this myself. I do want to see her, and I wish for nothing more than to hug her right now. But I'm worried about her. At least my uncle, mom's older brother, is coming with her. But I hope she doesn't exhaust herself or nothing happens to her because that would break me. They arrive tomorrow and have not informed my parents of their trip. My grandma asked me to keep it until she gets here. I hope she's able to make my parents see the mistake in their actions, or at the very least, help me break the news to them that I'm moving out very soon and I plan on being no contact with them. I don't know. I'm worried about her having to do so much for me and bothering her, but I also appreciate and love her so much for doing all this for me. I don't know if this is a sad or a good update. I guess good in that I'm glad OP got her petty justice out, but then is figuring out her schooling, her living situation, and has family and a friend at least that's there for her. But on the other hand, I feel like this is not the calm before the storm, but there's something like it's going to be a fight. When grandma gets here, there will be no peace in this household. Like if they're at this weird stalemate where everyone's kind of ignoring each other, staying out of each other's way, they're going to be on a full blown fight now. I'd be very confused if the parents are fighting to keep OP there, since it seems like they don't want her around at all. I feel bad though because OP is a kid. I mean, she's a teen, right? She's not yet an adult, and she has to shoulder all of this. OP, don't feel bad. Your grandma is an adult, and while her health is questionable, she's making the decision to do it for you. And if she says it's fine, I would just place your belief and trust in her that at least she's also going with your uncle. So we got some comments from Ruby Baby. Wow, your grandma is amazing. It's so great that she has your back and is willing to stand up to your parents. And don't worry about her making the trip. She sounds like a strong and determined woman. Absolutely. Plus, you deserve to have someone on your side who'll fight for you. Keep us updated on how everything goes with your family. And remember, you have a whole community here to support you. Best of luck with your future plans. There's a comment. It's so funny. Comment in reply to this one says, she should use her oxygen tank to beat some sense into them. Yes, grandma, come and round up the family. Beat them up. I don't advocate violence, but if she decides to do some old fashioned whacking with an oxygen tank, who am I to critique grandma? So overall, Reddit saying not the a-hole, and I agree. There's no way OP is the a-hole here. Although parents and siblings are definite a-holes. What's your verdict?
Same. Gives me the Harry Potter vibes.
Oh my gosh, you're right. They're like Dudley and the Dursleys. I'm totally butchering up their names. Harry Potter is OP. OP, you are the boy who lived. You're basically the boy living under the staircase. Find your Hagrid. Grandma is your Hagrid. She's coming to you, braving the storm, braving the plane on her mechanical broomstick motorcycle to save you. All right, guys, it's time for what I expect will be my favorite story and favorite read of the episode. It is our wild pick. So, if you haven't tuned in before, wild pick is basically just that, a pick that stood out to me. I thought it was a little silly, a little out there. So, of course, you guys have to hear it. This one is from the subreddit, Am I the A-hole? Am I the a-hole for arguing with my husband because his female boss is taking him to lunch at Hell's Kitchen when it was always our plan to go try it together for the first time? Yes. Wait, no. Yes, he's the a-hole. No, you're not the a-hole. Well, that's my initial gut instinct verdict. You guys have agreed to have this amazing Hell's Kitchen gourmet experience together. And now he's going with someone else? No. But you know what? Let me hold my thoughts a little bit and let's get into this. Opie says, my husband, 40-year-old male, was recently asked by his 52-year-old female boss if she could take him out for lunch at Hell's Kitchen. I admittedly was a little upset to hear that he had taken her up on this offer because him and I always planned to go to Hell's Kitchen together. We watched the show together, we're both fans of Gordon Ramsay, and we always talked about going together for the first time one day. The only issue was money, saving up for it, but she can't afford it easily. His boss lost her husband unexpectedly a few years ago and has one son who she doesn't get along with. She's very attractive for her age and seems to really favor my husband. Am I the a-hole for getting upset with him for accepting this offer, or am I being jealous and dramatic? We've been arguing about it for a couple days now. Opie, I'm with you, girl. I don't care if it's the president himself asking your husband? Yes, asking your husband to go to Hell's Kitchen to eat some Gordon Ramsay chef food. The answer is a no. Well, of course, okay, he's entitled to go if he chooses to, blah, blah, blah. But actions have consequences. And the consequence is that he's going to make you mad. Beyond the realm of, oh, is there something between him and his boss? It's not that. It's the infidelity on the activity. You're going to call me, okay, you guys might think this is a little nutty. But I feel like if you and your partner committed to something, right? Like if Emma and I told each other, okay, we're going to go parasailing. This is something we've talked about for a while and we're going to go. And then one day I just tell him, oh, knock the mic. You guys might have heard a little bump there. And one day I just go and tell him, hey, babe, sorry, I'm going to parasail with one of my girlfriends instead. Bye, toodles. I wouldn't be surprised if you felt some sort of way. Would you feel some sort of way?
Yeah.
So would it be okay or would it not be okay? Would you be okay with me going?
I think it depends on what the activity is. If that's something we plan together and we both kind of were looking towards that activity, I think I would feel some sort of way.
What's an activity that we had always planned to do together?
That we haven't done?
Yeah.
I got nothing.
We wanted to go to Hell's Kitchen, but I don't think it's something that we're as like, because we've watched Hell's Kitchen, we've watched all of his Kitchen Nightmare stuff, so we're big Gordon Ramsay fans too. But I guess one of our goals we could say we always talked about was, oh, we want to go eat at Gordon Ramsay's restaurant or one of his like places, whatever. Now, if your boss shows up and she's like, hey, I can take you out to go there, I'll pay for everything. Would you do it?
Oh, I would definitely talk it over with you.
You would consider, you traitor. You traitor. He would go eat Gordon Ramsay gourmet food without
It's
me.
an opportunity.
Oh, okay.
No, like I wouldn't just do it.
Yeah, you just like you wouldn't just do it. You would say something and then do it. Okay.
No, I would have a conversation with you and see how you would feel. But given your reaction right now, it's probably a no.
Well, I can't stop you, but I will be quite jealous and upset because you get to eat his food and I don't. Like, I'm just imagining, like, okay, if M went to go eat this gourmet Hell's Kitchen food and he gets to see Gordon Ramsay yelling at all the other chefs and the flames in the kitchen and him saying all the iconic lines like idiot sandwich and stuff, I would be mad jealous. I would be so jealous. And I'll be sitting at home eating something normal, not cooked by Gordon Ramsay. I'd be upset.
I mean, Gordon Ramsay wouldn't even be there. Like,
what if he's filming one of his shows or one of the episodes and he's there?
but that's almost like once in a lifetime opportunity, realistically, right?
So you're saying this is a oh, you're on husband's side, aren't you?
I'm not. But I think the husband should have brought it up to his wife.
It seems like he's already planning on going no matter what. And she doesn't want him to go. I don't know what the compromise here is. A lot of situations and fights, usually there's a middle ground. What is the middle ground here? Nothing. Oh, wait, there is one. Actually, there is one. Husband, you dummy. You could tell your boss, hey, that's awesome. Me and my wife have always loved it. Do you mind if she also tags along? I'll pay for her. You guys have always been saving for it, right?
Yeah, you got a point here. Now you
only pay half price.
Got a point here.
Right? You know what? That cements it for me. Husband's super a-hole because he didn't even offer this up as an option. He's just like, well, too bad, babe. I'm going, you're not. A-hole. So here's the interesting thing. This post is marked as a-hole. So it's tagged as a-hole in the subreddit. But I'm reading the first few comments, like the most popular comments, and they all say not the a-hole. So I'm a little bit confused on how the tagging happened. Or maybe the tagging happened earlier. First comment, not the a-hole. I don't think it has much to do with Hell's Kitchen as much as it does an attractive single woman that favors your husband taking him out. I think many would feel a certain way about that. But if she takes coworkers out regularly like this, it shouldn't be a problem in my opinion. Need more backstory. OP replies, she does not normally take out coworkers like this. I just feel a bit weird about the whole thing. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was zeroing in on the Hell's Kitchen, the food aspect, but I think there's a point to be made if your partner is uncomfortable with you going on something like this is a social outing, right? It's not a work thing. It's an outside of work hours thing. And hanging out with an attractive single woman or someone you think is, makes you uncomfortable in some way, then I think there needs to be a conversation. And by conversation, I mean husbands should know better because it's not that you can't hang out with your coworkers outside of work. But if there's clear favoritism and different actions, and this clearly isn't a normal offer, Hell's Kitchen, I think you have to make a reservation for it as an example, right? It's not like hey, you and I, let's go grab McDonald's, I don't know, or something. For example, I recently had lunch with one of my managers, but he was not taking me out to Hell's Kitchen or anything like that, right? We just went to like a basic pho place, local, whatever. And then we just had a nice lunch to introduce me to the team, welcome him to the team, and we just had a very normal interaction. But if M felt some sort of way about it, I would reevaluate whether or not I would go. In this case, it kind of, I think there's a few kind of maybe not quite red based on the information we have, but almost like a orange red flags. Because I see that, okay, so wife is not comfortable because we know that his boss has favoritism towards husband and has shown it. And second evidence of it is the whole, let's just have private dinner, just us two, all expenses paid. It just, I don't know. It just feels like it's a little bit too much for a gift, but not enough to be like, there's something weird, weirdly inappropriate. Does that make sense? It's almost like it's just very weird and ambiguous. But regardless of that, I think wife's feelings should be considered here. No, I don't think OP is a hole, but your husband is for two reasons. One, going to an event that you guys have been looking forward to for a while now and planned together, solo and offering zero compromise. Two, he's going with someone that makes you uncomfortable. Anyways, there is an edit to add from OP. So edit, thanks for all the responses. I'm 4 years younger than him and in the same field of work. Some additional info. It is not a work lunch. It is just because. And she asked him because she knows he just really wants to go. It's not during business hours. It's on their own time. She's bringing him to show her appreciation for doing a great job at work. There is no promotion on the line. He's capped out basically. After reading all the comments, I have to say I'm definitely more disappointed about the fact that my husband and I had planned to experience it together for the first time when we had extra funds. I cannot go as I will be out of town that day with family. However, I was also not invited to begin with. She's paying for the whole meal out of her own pocket, and I will admit that yes, I'm wary and a bit jealous of the whole situation. My husband has decided he's definitely going. He's always been faithful that I know of. So it's more hurtful that we were supposed to go experience it together. Maybe I'm the weirdo, but can't you just change the date? If your wife can't go, can't you just offer to have her go and cover her part of it so that you guys can go together and still experience it? Or better yet, here's a novel idea. Why doesn't husband just tell if he really wants to have like, a friendly dinner with his boss, suggest a different place? I know you want to go to Hell's Kitchen, but if if your wife is that concerned and feels that strongly about something that you guys wanted to do together, such as Hell's Kitchen, why don't you guys continue to save up to go to Hell's Kitchen and you and your boss can go have McDonald's, Mickey D's. I'm just kidding. You guys can, well, there's nothing wrong with Mickey D's, but you guys could have, I don't know, a different restaurant, any other restaurant of less significance to you and your wife. It just seems very weird because even with Hell's Kitchen, I know you require a reservation in advance. So it seems very odd too that the reservation, because I'm thinking if the boss booked it, she would have probably asked the husband, right? Like, hey, when are you available? And you're telling me, of course, the day that he chooses is the day that she's out of town? See, maybe I've been watching too many K dramas, but something's a little weird here in the story for me. Overall, I have to say, Opie, you're not the a-hole. Get your Hell's Kitchen. You know what? I hope your boss takes you out for Hell's Kitchen too. Maybe you guys will bump into each other there at the restaurant. I don't like that the husband is willing to have his wife be uncomfortable just for the sake of eating some, well, as M pointed out, faux Gordon Ramsay, not really made by Gordon Ramsay food. Would you go if your boss offered you a fully paid lunch to Hell's Kitchen?
Well, given what you said, no.
But you would in general.
No.
Wait, so does this mean if you're okay with going, does that mean I could have gone? If my boss was like, hey, Gordon Ramsay's restaurant, Hell's Kitchen.
I think I would be more okay with that.
So you're okay with that?
With Hell's Kitchen, yeah.
So if he's, whatever, this is 12 years older than me and has shown favoritism towards me, you'd be okay with it?
Well, I mean, that's a different story. But if someone offered you, well, your boss,
outside of work hours, just for fun, all expenses paid?
I mean,
really?
that is definitely weird, right?
I think it's different if it was during work hours or on a company dime.
Well, yeah, for sure. If it was
because then I wouldn't have any weirdness with it.
If it was on a company dime, then yeah, for sure. I think I would be okay with that. But outside of work hours, I mean, the whole relationship is kind of weird to me. That's not, at least that's not normal to me to have a relationship with your boss outside of work hours. Maybe some people have that, then maybe it's okay for them. But
at the
I think in our situation,
partner,
it would be weird.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to each their own. I know some people would be BFFs with their boss, which is fine. I think where it gets a little bit fuzzy is if your partner is not comfortable with it or if there's other context. Like in this case, that's the favoritism for me. But that's my verdict. You are not the a-hole OP. Now, our next story is from the subreddit AITH. Am I the a-hole for reading a hurtful journal entry about my sister-in-law after my brother and his wife read my private journals? Growing up, I, 32-year-old male, used to journal. To my knowledge, no one knew about it or read the heartfelt thoughts I recorded, and if they did, they never disclosed that my privacy had been breached. Journaling became a source of comfort, so I continued well into my teenage years. As a male, I felt a bit self-conscious about it, so I used to hide this fact. My parents are moving, and since they've had this house since my childhood, there's a lot of packing, organizing, and decluttering to do. As they're older, they need some help. So my brother, 39-year-old male, and I came over to assist. While helping them, I found my brother and his wife, 38-year-old female, huddled together, snickering as they read through a journal. It was just a regular composition book, but instinctively, I knew it was one of my special journals by their stupid giggles. So I asked, "Isn't that mine?" as I walked over. I didn't exactly know what they were reading, but I knew it was obviously personal and none of their business. I told my brother to give it back, and when I reached for it, he told me to chill and snatched it back. We ended up wrestling over the book, causing enough commotion for my parents to come and see and ask what was going on. All right, we're halfway through. We're halfway through. First thing I'm thinking, brother and sister-in-law are the a-holes. Now, let me tell you guys something. So, as a kid, I used to journal. I used to hate it. The reason why I journaled was because I think my mom had read somewhere or heard something where journaling was supposed to be therapeutic and great for you and helps you capture your thoughts, blah, 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 something like that. I know it works for a lot of people. Just personally, I don't know. I don't really like writing. Maybe that's the issue. I don't really lighting. I don't really like writing that much. So maybe that's just a me thing. But I remember one time where I realized my dad had read my journal. And that just completely for me, I was like, okay, no more journals. No more journals. That's it for me. So I am feeling empathy, so much empathy for OP here. It's so invasive. And also, I think it's less like I'm afraid of what people are reading, what I think, but it's more so the cringe. Because what? I was a kid. Like, I'm just imagining when you're in a journal headspace, usually I'm guessing that people write a lot of times because they're feeling very emotional about something in terms of, you might be really pissed at something or you're really upset. And sometimes, at least for me, the words might not make all that much sense on paper. So I'm cringing. But now I'm just thinking, okay, OP's brother is 39 and his sister in law is 38. These are grown adults. I'm just imagining these grown adults are sitting together, huddled over like this, one of those, like, what are those calling it? The marbled composition books or no? Yeah. With the horrible binding where you can't really open it fully without like really like hammering the sides of the binding. Those type of composition books. And they're just like, oh my God, so cringy. Ha ha ha. Like, it's so juvenile. Like, it's a journal. It's different if you're reading like an old workbook or a school assignment, but a journal. No, that's basically a diary. I'm calling it a diary because that's what it is. So let's see what happens. OP says. He says something like, you guys have to hear this, and starts reading the entry out loud. His wife is outright laughing and he's struggling to read full sentences without breaking into laughter. The memory of what they're reading comes flooding back and I feel a wave of huge embarrassment. I was 15 at the time and my 22-year-old brother had just started dating a girl, his now wife, who I thought was hot and way out of his league. That journal, without exaggeration, is nearly 2 decades old. And yet they were getting a real kick out of themselves, exchanging comments to my detriment and wanting to take pictures of the page. My annoyance turned to irritation. Yes, she was attractive, but within 2 years of their relationship, I realized she was ugly inside. I still feel the same today. I vividly remember writing something harsh about her in one of my journals when I was 18. It stands out because it happened right after my grandmother passed away, and her behavior during our time of mourning felt selfish and insensitive. She's still that kind of person. So I retrieved the journal that contained that particular passage and read it out loud too. I'll admit what I wrote was mean and about how negatively I perceived her character. I told them everything written was my most up to date view of her, as nothing has changed about them. I truly find them insufferable and unpleasant people. Things went quiet, and then my brother acted like he wanted to fight me. They eventually left. I'm sorry, that's so funny to me. Brother and sister in law may be physically 38, 39, but their mental IQ has to be like 8 and 9. Really? I'm just imagining you're the one who started this game. Let's read out all of OP's thoughts in the journal. Let's put them out there. OP just fired back. He beat them at their own game. I mean, what was the joke, by the way? Oh, haha. Did you hear that, babe? My brother used to think you were hot, out of my league. Haha, so funny? Maybe I'm the one missing the joke, but what's funny about it? And then when OP just shows up and says, hey, you suck as a person. I hate your character. All of a sudden, husband wants to jump to his wife's honor and say, I will fight you. What was that phrase? Catch me outside. I'm, I'm just imagining the husband is actually like rolling up his metaphorical or physical sleeves, and going, all right, let's fight over these diary entries of yours. Really? And with the parents watching? Oh, is this a normal sibling behavior? I could never imagine acting this way with my siblings. All right, let's go outside now. Okay. Now, OP concludes this by saying, now, days later, my brother is blaming me for triggering her depression, which I didn't even know she struggled with. He says she's been questioning her character, and my words are really getting to her. I reminded him of the passage I wrote when I was 15, the one they read out loud and found so amusing, and suggested that he refer back to that if he wants to cheer her up. He's telling anyone who will listen that I unnecessarily hurt his wife's feelings and that I'm an a-hole. Am I an a-hole? You know what gets me? What is it? Oh, wife is now, or sister-in-law is now crying, boo-hoo, so sad. So sad because she got called out. Oh my gosh, she's now questioning her character. Oh, poor thing. Oh, and by the way, blaming OP for triggering her depression is gold for me. Just because you're struggling with depression does not certify you to be an a-hole and to read someone's private thoughts and invade their privacy for your own amusement. If you're a poopy person, you're a poopy person, depression or not. So, I mean, if she's questioning her character, maybe that's her character development now. Maybe this is her shining moment to change to a better person. Because no one with decent ethics or character is going to read someone's thoughts, much less your own younger brother-in-laws. Ugh. I kind of wonder what the parents are going to say. I bet you odds are parents are going to say something like, oh, get over it. Keep the family peace. I mean, OP mentions the parents were there to witness everything, but no, I guess, feedback or no comments from the parents were made. I hope the parents stay out of it. I hope they do defend OP though. But let's see some of the comments. First comment from Miss Scoria68. Not they wanted to read your innermost thoughts and feelings. You only gave them more of what they wanted. I agree. Be careful what you ask for. I think that's the phrase that best summarizes this post. Comment from IC Doctor 23. Not they are for violating your privacy. They FAFO? FAFO? I feel like I know this acronym. What the heck is a FAFO? Oh, effed around and found out. Yes, they FAFO'd. I'm pretty sure no one says that. Well, I'm pretty sure people say FAFO, not FAFO.
What does this stand for?
Effed around and found out. Like they effed around and they found out.
Oh.
But I read it. I couldn't remember what it was, so I just said they FAFO'd. Another comment from Leaves Me Please. Not they all, you just mirrored their actions back at them. They clearly thought it was a joke until the laughter turned on them. Let's be real. If she's questioning her character, maybe that's a good thing to her face. Well, maybe that's a good thing for her to face. Sometimes a reality check is necessary for growth. I agree. I think people should get called out more. I think confrontation should happen more. Peaceful ones, not the whole catch me outside, physical violence. I think, especially with family, sometimes tough love is telling them exactly what they need to know, which is, yeah, they're the jerk. I love this. I'm so glad that OP called them out. No, OP, I don't think you went too far. Sister's depression is a separate thing. If this triggers it for her, well, then maybe she should have reevaluated her decision making. Because as a grown woman, she chose to sit around and giggle about someone's diary written 20 years ago, which is in a way kind of weird. No, it's kind of weird. There aren't any updates to this story that I can see, but guys, let me know if you end up checking out the story, if you see any updates to this. I'm very curious if we find some sort of conclusion or even commentary on the parents on this. So our last story is from the subreddit AITH. Am I the a-hole for not making my son forgive my brother after he was uninvited from his wedding? We got another wedding one. So OP says, 6 months ago, my son Leo, 14-year-old male, decided to cut off my brother, Jack, 46-year-old male. Now, my mom, we got a mum. They sound like they're from the UK. Mum. Now my mom, brother, sister-in-law, and other family members want me to make my son forgive him to keep the peace. For a little bit of context, I'm 46-year-old male, a single dad. My family has always helped me in many ways, mostly babysitting when Leo was younger. And even before my son was born, we were all very close. We all live relatively close to each other, so we've been able to keep in touch with weekly gatherings, spending the holidays together, etc. Everyone loved my son, and my son loved them back. Ooh, I smell the drama. It's past tense. My son loved them back. He doesn't love them back, it's loved. Opie says, however, my brother Jack was always my son's favorite person. Back when my son was 3 to 4 years old, Jack and his wife had more flexible jobs than me. Think freelancing versus a 9 to 5. So they always volunteered to look after Leo, something he loved. Almost every month, they would have taken him to the zoo or the aquarium, or they even go camping with him. As my son grew older, he started to develop the same interests as my brother, like video games, photography, and music. When Leo was 9, he told me he wanted to have the same career as his uncle. This is all to say they were extremely close. Oh, that's so cute. OP says, last year, my brother informed me that he and his girlfriend, Mary, were getting married. That's so funny. Is this a real name, OP? Mary? Mary's getting married. I wonder if they're going to do some sort of pun with the wedding invitations. Jack, wait, was it Jack? Yes. Jack and Mary are getting married. I don't know. It just sounds like a cute pun. Is that too cheesy? I feel you guys are rolling your eyes at that. It's cute though. Mary's married. Get it? OP says, I knew that neither Jack nor his girlfriend believed in marriage. So when I asked them about it, they told me it was all Karen's idea, my sister in law's mom. Because Jack and Mary didn't care much about the wedding, and since Karen was paying for it, they let her plan everything from the venue to the food, music, etc. Karen decided to plan a destination wedding at a fancy resort. In July of last year, we received the invitation and it was addressed to both me and my son. I even had a +1 if I wanted. And as soon as the website went up, I tried to make a reservation for our hotel. I tried to make a reservation room for our hotel room. I should clarify that I had to call the hotel to make my reservation because the link wasn't working and I really couldn't risk not getting a room. When I received the email confirmation, it said room for 2 adults, but I didn't think much of it and just assumed it was an error due to the language barrier with the hotel guy. I also bought the plane tickets for us around the same time. Fast forward to January, less than a month before the wedding, my sister in law called me crying, saying that Karen had made a mistake with the venue. Apparently, the resort was for adults only, so they didn't allow anyone younger than 16. My son was 13 at the time. I asked her if it would be possible for Leo and me to stay in another hotel, but they told me the whole resort was child free, so my son wouldn't even be allowed to attend the ceremony or the reception. I was disappointed and I told my sister in law. I talked to my son about it. I knew how excited he was about his uncle's wedding, but she insisted both her and Jack wanted to tell him in person. Honestly, my son was devastated. He started crying as soon as he was told he wouldn't be able to go. He pleaded with them and even offered to give them all of his savings so they could move the wedding. After 30 minutes of this, my sister in law got frustrated and just told him that he was being selfish and that this day wasn't about him. Leo eventually apologized and went to his room. Ah, that's rough. That was rough to read, guys. It's so sad. Oh my gosh. See, I do better with stories that I think there's a hint of rage and fire because for whatever reason, it's calming, okay? It's calming to read. But this, like stories that are just straight up devastating, it's so heavy, it's so tense. I feel so bad. Now, I'm kind of going to call out uncle and sister-in-law or aunt to be a little bit because even though they don't care about marriage and this is all the mom's idea. Oh, that's so funny. I didn't think she would actually pop out. So I just held out my hand and Mango just looked like she magically appeared. Hey, Mango. But here's the thing. Even though it wasn't her idea or Jack's idea, the uncle's idea, Jack and Mary have responsibility, I think, right? Because it's still an event for them. I get it. They don't want to be involved in the planning, or maybe they were just careless, or they let mom-in-law handle everything. But you're telling me they couldn't have at least stressed to mom-in-law, hey, just so you know, this is the guest list. These are the people that we really, really want to be there. You built all this expectation and you're telling me no one found out that it was an adults only accommodation until a month before the wedding? Man, Mary and Jack are very out of their own wedding planning, huh? I just And also I feel bad because now OP wasted all this money. He bought the tickets. He already booked the hotel room. Come on. I think it would be a different story if the expectation was set and that they spoke to, um, I'm forgetting the son's name. What is the son's name? Oh, son is just, oh, Leo. It'll be different if they spoke to Leo, the son, and said, hey, set the expectation earlier on. So sorry. This is our wedding. We can't have you there because it's adults only. And we are not planning this. We are not funding it, etc. That's fine. But they are the a-hole now because everything's booked. All this expectation has been built to only kind of pull the rug from the kid's heart and yank it out and just say, actually, too bad. Oops, adults only. You're not invited. Oh, come on. I feel like it's a little irresponsible on Jack and Mary's part. Am I too hard on them? I know they didn't plan it. I know they don't care about weddings, but still. Come on, you're telling me you had zero input at all on the guest list? I doubt that. Especially because invitations went out to OP and his son. If you are going to cause an adult-sized problem to a small child, right? This is your problems, your weddings, your event. You miscalculated. And no matter what you say that it was your mom's thing, your name's on it. So you bear some responsibility. I think it's very immature to then have this kind of pissing match with Leo, the 14-year-old. Just own up to it. Take the kid's anger and just recognize that you are so justifiably upset. You don't have to go and insult him back and say, hey, you're selfish and you're this and you're that. Opie says, after the wedding, my son just stopped talking to my brother. If Jack sent him a message, Leo would just ignore unless it had something to do with me. For example, he would only reply if Jack asked him to tell me something because he couldn't reach me, etc. On our family gatherings, Leo would only respond to small questions like, can you pass the salt? Or help grandma with the plates. But he would ignore my brother if Jack or Mary tried to start a conversation or ask him about school, etc. A month after the wedding, Jack and Mary offered to take him for a special vacation during spring break to make up for the wedding. But my son just ignored them, and he later told me he didn't want to go with them. It was heartbreaking because I knew how much he wanted to go to that place, and I wasn't able to afford it yet. But he stuck to his guns. Something similar happened on Leo's birthday. He asked me if I was planning to throw him a party. I do it every year. And when I said yes, he asked me not to invite his aunt and uncle. I tried to convince him to invite them because they're family and they were really sorry, but he just said that if they didn't want him on their special day, he didn't want them on his. My brother was crying when I told him he wasn't invited. However, things came to a head this past weekend. We were at my mom's house and the conversation of Leo's university came up. My mom asked Leo if he was still planning on going to the same university as Jack and that he should start planning for that. But my son replied that he wasn't interested anymore and he had chosen to study something else. Then my mom said, I thought you wanted to be like your uncle. And my son just said, why would I want to be like him? Oh, to be there at that table, I'm just imagining that Leo's words were like a silent dagger, just plunging in and then just twisting as he yanks it out of his uncle's heart. That is cold. So cold. Oh my gosh. Why would I want to be like him? This is a 14-year-old. He was hurt. Do I think Leo was being a little bit petty? Mayhaps. Perhaps. Yes. But I can feel that he is butthurt, like extremely butthurt about this, and justifiably so. I mean, you could even argue that his relationship with Jack was almost like not a second dad, but he's just super close with his uncle. And to be kind of uninvited from such a big moment, if all the adults around Leo would just shut up and just stop pushing him to forgive his uncle and to give it time, maybe there's hope of a better relationship. But right now, with everyone pressuring Leo to forgive his uncle Jack, it doesn't quite seem like that's helping the situation. Opie says, at this point, I intervened and told Leo he didn't have to be so rude, but the damage was already done. Both my brother and sister-in-law heard what he said and they left shortly after. Last night, my brother texted me saying I was an a-hole for letting my son continue with this grudge. And he even accused me of being jealous of their relationship, and that's why I wasn't doing anything to fix it. I just told him these were the consequences of his actions, and that this was 100% his fault by allowing his piece of shit mother-in-law to plan the wedding when she obviously hated my child. He hung up on me. My mom and some other family members think I should force my son to forgive my brother so we can all move on, claiming there was no ill intent and it was just a small mistake. But I don't think I should. My son was clearly hurt and he should be allowed to heal and forgive them only when he's ready. So, am I the a-hole? No. No, you're not. I think OP's last phrasing sums it up very well. His kid was hurt. He should be allowed to forgive at his own point, like leisure, when he's ready. Is it true forgiveness if it has to be pressured into it? Like, I don't think that's a real forgiveness or mending of a relationship. I'm annoyed that everyone just is kind of dismissing Leo's feelings and is pushing this as, oh, can you just get over with it? It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Just move on for everyone else. Why does the kid have to sacrifice his feelings just to please the adults around him who are pressuring him in the wrong way? And I saw no apology, by the way, for what they said to him when they first broke the news to him. There was apology of, sorry, we didn't know, blame mother-in-law for picking the wrong venue. Oops. But there was no apology of, hey, sorry, we reacted badly when you were clearly upset. None of that. Okay. I heard a little.
I would actually argue that Leo is being very mature for his age because, given that whole situation, it seems that he was basically an afterthought for their uncle's wedding.
You're right.
And it kind of puts you in the perspective. Yeah, I was like an afterthought. Those people kind of showed that they didn't really care for me or didn't care about me. And so I don't really need them in my life, I guess.
You're right.
Right, because imagine Leo was older. Let's say he was 18, 20 years old. Or something.
Right.
He was an adult. And
for whatever reason, he couldn't go.
Similar situation would happen where people who you thought were your true friends completely ignored you and
forgot about
you essentially. I think your whole relationship and your whole opinion about them would change. So I think that he's sticking to his guns shows that mature in that sense. That these are people who truly don't care about you and they just want to kind of band-aid fix things after. Then they're not really apologizing for what they've done.
Yeah, because even now they keep insisting, oh, it's just a mistake. But I'm like, this was preventable. All they had to say was, hey, make sure this is the guest list and everyone on this guest list is invited.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. I feel so bad, but now that you brought it up, I agree. Leo's extremely mature. Mature. Leo's extremely mature. He's only 14, and it's not like he's throwing tantrums or anything about it either. I mean, all he's saying is being honest. Yeah, is he being a little petty? Of course. But all he's doing is controlling his own behavior. When you think about it, I don't think he's actually bringing anyone grief. I think people are uncomfortable because they're guilty when they look at Leo and how he behaves. They're upset that he's not just rolling backwards and going, oh, or bending backwards and going, oh, this is fine. We're all good now. We're chill.
Yeah, it seems they're brushing him off and treating him as if he was just throwing a tantrum.
Aww.
And not really admitting that they made a huge mistake, in my opinion.
That's devastating. I'm still mad because I don't see any reimbursement from Jack or the sister-in-law either. They booked tickets for it. They booked like everything for it. It was a month before the wedding and it was destination.
Well, hopefully they're able to cancel or get a refunds. Usually hotels, even if you book a room, it's roughly the same price for one or two people.
You know what's interesting? I don't know if the dad went. OP's the dad. Yeah. I don't know if he went to the wedding. So he could have gone to the wedding. I don't know if he went alone though. Well, I guess he would have had to go alone since Leo couldn't go. So there is a bit of an edit, but before we go into the edit, here's a comment from Throwaway 2648. I have a hunch this is less about the wedding and more about the conversation where they called him selfish. To me, that conversation would have done enough damage to ruin the relationship. I'm guessing they never apologized to your son for saying the things they said or reacting the way they did. He trusted them. And instead of them helping him process this extremely upsetting thing that was their mistake, they called him selfish and yelled at him and effectively ruined their relationship. They are the adults. If they want to fix the relationship, they need to stop trying to buy him and they need to start apologizing and making amends for the hurt and discord they caused. Your son wasn't rude when he said he didn't want to be like his uncle. He was answering a question honestly. No one should put him in a position to give an honest answer he would get in trouble for. That's incredibly crappy on the adults to do. Especially when you called him rude, you are the a-hole for that. Get him some therapy. He's been betrayed by some of the most important people in his life. Your son is the only one not the a-hole in this situation. You should apologize to him as well for calling him rude when he wasn't. Wait, did Opie call his son rude? I must have missed that. Oh, okay. Okay. I see. So when they're at the dinner table and Leo was saying, no, why would I want to be like uncle? I don't want to go to his university. And then OP said, hey, you don't have to be rude. I I feel like I don't think OP's necessarily a-hole because in that specific situation, yeah, Leo was kind of being a little bit petty, obviously, right? Like it's not like he didn't know what he was saying. So I don't think OP's the a-hole. Although I think OP would be the a-hole if he forced his son to apologize or if he went to the wedding without his son. I somehow feel weird about it. Or maybe not. See, I'm mixed feelings about it because it is his brother, but I feel you should stand behind your kid. Same time, it's kind of complicated because family. Okay, overall, Jack and Mary, who are now married, are definitely the a-holes for me. I think the family members who are calling for Leo to apologize and to just get over things, a-hole, absolute a-hole, down with them. They can go somewhere for all I care. OP, I don't think is an a-hole. I'm glad he's sticking to his guns and he's standing up for his kid after all. I mean, he has no intention of telling his son to just get over and forgive. And is it truly forgiveness if it's forced? Come on. So there is an update to this. Let's see. So I've received some messages asking for an update. I appreciate everyone who took the time to comment and send me messages. Some may have been a bit harsh, but I deserved it. Thanks for slapping some sense into me. The short version is that we'll stop going to family events for a while. I talked to my brother and he will respect my son's boundaries, and he also explained what really happened. And above all, Leo's doing much better now. Here's the longer update in case anyone's interested in the details. I love this. OP separates it out by person. So we got some characters set up. Mom and sister. The short of it is that I informed my mom that both Leo and I would stop going to the family gatherings until things calmed down, and more importantly, until he felt comfortable again. She was understandably upset, but I think she finally understood how much she had been hurting Leo. What surprised me is that my mom told me that Jack had become depressed, so she was worried about him, and that's why she was so insistent that Leo should forgive him. I basically told her that if we forced Leo to forgive my brother, we risked pushing him away from us. Yeah, I don't like mom. Sorry. That excuse is not enough for me. It's basically you telling me that you prioritized what? Your son over your grandkids' feelings? No. I think mom was better off shutting up and not saying anything at all if that's the case. Because what you're doing now is you're putting their feelings on a little scale and weighing which one is more important to you. And I think that kind of makes the situation a lot crazier and a lot a lot more complicated. As for my sister, she was also sad when I told her we'd stop going to family gatherings, but she said she understood. However, she suggested we make our own weekly tradition so the children can still hang out. And that's what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. We decided my nibblings. Your nibblings? What the heck is this? What kind of UK lingo is this? We decided my nibblings would come to my house one week, and then Leo would hang out at hers the next. I'm hoping this is a typo. Do UK people call their siblings nibblings? Is that a thing? If so, I think it's kind of silly. It's kind of cute and funny. It kind of reminds me of bite-sized cookies or something. But it caught me off guard, guys. I'm sorry. This is a serious post, but like the whole nibblings thing is still revolving in my mind. Okay. We decided my nibblings would come to my house one week and then Leo would hang out at hers the next. So far, it seems to be working and Leo is happy with this arrangement. I think it helps that he isn't being pressured by the adults expecting him to talk to his uncle. Now, Jack and Mary. The weekend after I posted here, I texted my brother asking him to meet me so we could talk. I told him that I wanted to speak with him alone, so Mary wasn't present. Jack immediately apologized and said how much he regretted what he had done and the things he had told me. He confirmed what I already suspected and said he was stressed because of the constant fights with Mary. He mentioned that he had considered divorce because of how bad the fights got. Ooh, they're newlyweds too. You guys might have noticed I glanced over for a second there. Mango's making herself very comfortable on the side here. OP says, I may seem cruel here, but I basically told him that I didn't care about that. What I wanted was for him to tell me the truth about what the hell had happened. Okay, so you're right. You're right. It wasn't a, oops, we totally forgot moment. So it was intentional. I'm betting you it's intentional. Oh, all right.
That's even worse.
Actually, it is. It is 10 times worse. Did Mary hate Leo all this time? That would be crazy because she seemed to totally be happy with the relationship with Leo. So if it turns out the sister-in-law had it out for Leo from the beginning, that would be weird. All right, let's see. Jack maintains that he didn't know about the venue being child-free until last November. However, like many of you suspected, Mary had known for quite a while, maybe even the whole time. Apparently, this all started a few years back. Oh my gosh. This feels like, what is this? Oh my God, we're about to have a flashback. This is like a Naruto flashback. Oh my gosh, it's like a flashback of a flashback. Okay, so let's flash back to a few years later or before. Apparently, this all started a few years back when Jack and Mary took Leo to the beach. While they were playing, my son had accidentally called Jack dad before quickly correcting himself. From what Jack told me, it was a small mistake, like when you call a teacher mom. Leo was embarrassed, but Jack just laughed it off. The catch? Jack's mother in law, Karen, and father in law had joined them for that vacation and they overheard Leo when that happened. Let me guess. Karen was being Karen. I bet you this triggered one kid's accidental misspeak, triggered Karen's alarm bells, and she went, oh no, no, this kid has too much of an attachment to my son in law. This can't be. And for whatever reason, maybe mother in law felt threatened and decided, no, kid will not be invited to the wedding. That's my theory. Let's see. Opie says when they came back from their vacation, Karen had gone ballistic, claiming she was triggered by some random kid calling Jack dad, knowing that Mary can't have children. Mary had tried to explain it was just a misunderstanding, but Karen became extremely toxic and abusive towards Mary, and she started making demands like not inviting Leo over when Karen visited, etc. Wait, so Mary's the one that can't have children, but why is Karen the one going ballistic? I don't understand. Where did the trigger happen? Wait. Here's a quote from OP's post. Claiming she was triggered, Karen, the mother-in-law, was triggered by random kid Leo, the nephew, calling Jack, the uncle, dad, knowing that Mary can't have children. I'm very doubtful that Leo knew that Mary can't have children. And even if Leo, the kid, the 14-year-old, and back then probably even younger, a few years back, so maybe like 10, 11 years old, did know, what kind of twisted thinking and logic and hoops did you have to go through to think that, oh, he didn't accidentally say that. He's calling his uncle dad to taunt his uncle's girlfriend or fiance that she can't have kids? What? That's crazy. I'm sorry, but that is like truly like bonkers. That's some wild logic. I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually crazy.
Wouldn't the normal reaction be, oh my God, that's so sweet? Like Leo has such a close relationship with his uncle that he accidentally said that. So cute. And then you just move on with your life?
Yeah, Karen has problems.
That's so weird. And it's even weirder to me because Mary, the actual person who can't have kids, is not going ballistic, but her mom is? The stretch just went. I don't know if you guys watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but it's a great show, comedy, some solving of cases, very humorous. I love the cast, love the show so much. 8 seasons of greatness. And it has a good ending, guys. That's always a good thing. A show with a legitimately good ending. Highly recommend it. Anyways, in the show, there's a character, Jake, right? And he has issues with his dad. Not them saying Leo does. But one thing that stuck out and kind of reminded me of that character is that Jake, wait, that's funny. Jack, the names. Anyways, so Jake calls Holt his boss, who is kind of like a father figure to him. And the joke is that sometimes he'll accidentally say, hey, Dad, Mr. Dad, Captain. Like it'll accidentally slip out sometimes. And so I find it really nostalgic and really endearing that Leo said that. It is so weird. You know, Opie says that Karen went ballistic. I think she really did went ballistic. So ballistic that she's just, maybe she needs to take a chill pill and go somewhere. I don't know. I don't know. Karen's weird. Opie says, so when Jack and Mary decided to get married, and since they initially just wanted to elope and not have a party at all, Karen manipulated Mary and convinced her to let her plan the perfect wedding for her only daughter. Mary gave in because she was sick of several years of emotional manipulation and she just wanted to keep the peace. So Karen hijacked the wedding and she chose the child-free venue on purpose. Mary discovered this when the venue was booked or shortly after, but she didn't say anything because every time she tried to argue, Karen would play the victim and stuff. Mary claimed that she had tried to negotiate with the resort that an exception be made so the children could attend the ceremony reception even if they stayed in at a different hotel. But the manager stood firm on the policy. But the closer they got to the date, the more anxious she got until she finally admitted the truth to Jack in November. According to my brother, Mary exploded to Leo because of all the constant bullying and manipulation from her own mother, and she also felt extremely guilty by letting things get too far. For his part, Jack said that if he had found out before, he would have stepped in and canceled the wedding rather than exclude Leo and my sister's children. But by that point, a lot of people had already booked their flights and hotel rooms, so canceling wasn't an option. I feel bad for Mary, but you're a grown woman, Mary. Same as you, Jack. Pisses me off even more now, actually, that knowing all of this was going on and the real reason why Leo wasn't invited was because he accidentally said dad like years back at a beach on a random trip. Poor Leo doesn't know any of this went down because of that. The fact that for me, Mary allowed her mother to manipulate her so badly that she blew up at a freaking child. Maybe this might sound extreme to you guys, but I would put the divorce down. Just because this has nothing to do with is Mary an a-hole or not. It's more that if I was Mary's partner, I would be so disgusted. I would literally it would change how I fundamentally see my partner, that it would be over. It would instantly, that romance, that zap, that zing, which is so. But I will not let Jack escape from the blame as well because he's also known for a long time. I get that the couple chose to continue with the wedding because at that point, all the guests have already paid for the flights and the accommodations. All of that has already been in the works. Yeah. But you know what I would have done? I think there were measures that they could have done still, and they chose not to do it. You could have easily taken Leo aside, told him the truth, and explained it. And then you know what? Fine. You can't have that moment with him at the wedding there. You know what you could have done? Had Leo stay at a different hotel, right? And then maybe taken an hour of that wedding day or take half an hour, meet him outside the freaking dang hotel that doesn't allow kids. Everything's booked anyway. What's it to you if you spend half an hour outside the venue? To have that moment with Leo, to have that moment with someone who was close enough that they would call you dad. Come on. You're telling me that didn't enter? There were no other options except to lie to the kid and then blow up and then blame them? The adults here suck. I'm changing the title of this episode. The episode will be Adults Suck. Jack and Mary suck. I'm sorry. No amount of trauma is going to justify you treating a child that way. No. Do you think I'm too harsh on Mary?
You could argue that Mary is also a victim here.
Oh, no, for sure. Mary's a victim.
At the same time, is it justifiable to blow up at a child?
I don't know. Maybe I just have a hard stance on it. But I think at some point, right, it's justifiable. Mary's for sure a victim of her mom. But at the same time, Mary could have said no. Because what was mom like forcing her to do? Have a huge, paid for destination wedding where Mary didn't have to lift a finger. You could say, Mary, as an adult, I think Jack and Mary have a responsibility to themselves, right? To make the decision to say, you know what? I don't want this after all. I'm calling it off. That's it. Early on, Mary had the decision. Jack may not have known, but Mary did. Even then to blow up on the kid, for me, that's too much. And then to let it for, I'm assuming it's been what, like days or at least weeks now between posts, I'm assuming, where she let the entire family try to guilt Leo into forgiving her and Jack. She let him take the fall for it.
Yeah, that's bad.
So now Leo's painted as the brat who won't just like get over the little mistake that happened instead of, oh, this whole thing was actually pre-planned. So for me, that's why she's unforgivable. It would make me see her in a different light if she was my partner. So I'm not surprised Jack was thinking of divorce.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because you know what I wonder? So if Mary's willing to lie this long to her partner, right? To her fiance prior to their wedding, now that they're wedded already, right? Just because of her mom's things that her mom says to her, what else would she lie about? I don't know. It just calls into question her character for me. OP says, for his part, Jack said that if he had found out before, he would have stepped in and canceled the wedding rather than exclude Leo and my sister's children. Oh, great. So more children were excluded. Great. But by that point, a lot of people had already booked their flights and hotel rooms, so canceling wasn't an option. See, here's the thing. They can have a child-free wedding if they want. I'm not against that. But it's the issue of how they handled it. I want to make that clear. I'm not against child-free weddings. I'm against how Jack and Mary handled it. So he continues. And then I told my brother that none of that excused the way they behaved, especially his wife. She was a 40-plus-year-old woman picking a fight with a kid. You tell him, OP. She had yelled and called him selfish when all Leo wanted was to offer the 2,000 pounds he'd saved so he could be part of Jack's special day. Oh, I'm just imagine this 14-year-old kid is like, I have no idea what 2,000 pounds is. Wait, is this euros or pounds? Freaking goodness. I think this currency is euros. Yes, I'm pretty sure it's euros. But I'm just offering this little kid with like offering all his savings, be like, please, I want to go to the wedding, Uncle Jack. Like, you could take all my money. Aw, someone's cutting onions. I feel emotional for Leo. Good on OP. Yes, call your brother out. All Leo wanted to do was offer the 2,000 euros he had saved so he could be part of Jack's special day. I reminded him that Leo looked up to him and considered him his hero, and he'd let him down. He had shown Leo that he wasn't important to him the way Jack was important to Leo. I also told him that I would keep supporting Leo on going no contact, and I'll be going low contact with him myself. He asked me for a chance to apologize to Leo, but I told him he had already apologized. All he could do now was wait to see if one day my son would accept his apology. Jack seemed hurt, but he told me he would respect our wishes and give us time and space. You know, if Jack responded this way from the beginning, maybe Leo wouldn't be so bitter and sad. And good on OP for calling out the fact that Mary, the 40-some-year-old woman, was picking a fight with a child. Girl, you have like a whole lifetime on this kid. To vent on him like that? Leo, as for my son, I apologize for not standing up to him for him. Wait, standing up to him? I think, OP, you mean for him. Standing up for him and forcing him to meet with the family every week. Wait, I totally missed that detail. Okay, OP, I can see why the comments yelled at you. You made your son, after the whole incident, have a family get-together every week? I'm not gonna lie, this is like borderline like evil. Like it's a little evil. Come on. Your son is going through something, and I'm just imagining you're already uncomfortable and you're having him meet the very people that made him uncomfortable week after week. What is going on with these people? Is this how families resolve conflict? This is kind of scary to me. This is stressful. Anyways, OP says, I told him that he could decide what he wanted to do with that part of the family going forward. He seemed reluctant to stop going, but I let him know that I would support him no matter what and that I wouldn't be upset. What made me happy was that Leo suggested we could stop going to the family every week and instead we could spend more time together, he and I, doing some of the things he used to do with my brother. Last week we went to a vintage car show and next week we're going to watch Wicked. I'm not a theater guy, but it sounds fun. Ooh, Wicked is a very good musical to watch. It's very good. I've never watched the musical, but I watched all the movies, like the old one and like renditions of it. So it's good. He also says, I also told him I was worried he had stopped doing things he liked and that he shouldn't stop just because he had a falling out with someone he cared about. Basically told him it was okay to still enjoy things by himself or with someone else. He admitted he actually wanted to do those things, but stopped just to spite Jack. I decided to give him an early Christmas gift and bought him some games he had been excited about, but that he'd refunded after the fight with my brother. He even convinced me to play with him some Final Fantasy online game on his PS5 while he plays on PC. I have no idea what I'm doing on that game since the last Final Fantasy game I played was still in 2D, but he seems to enjoy watching me fail. Any advice here is welcome. OP says, finally, we've decided to take a trip to his dream destination for my birthday. I was a little bit sad because it's going to be the first time in almost 50 years that I don't celebrate a birthday with my brother, but I've got my son and that's all that matters. So yeah, Leo is happier and less stressed about the family. Speaking of which, I think the family is finally respecting our boundaries, so that's good too. I just hope my brother can work on his marriage. I may hate what they did, but I do want him to be happy. I feel like we just sat through like a whole movie trilogy. The roller coaster of emotions I feel from the story is no joke. Usually I try to pick a story which I'm calling heavy hitters, kind of stories that I think you guys would be most excited about as the first story. I would have chosen this one maybe as the first story if I had known how it ended, because I never read the updates before sharing with you guys. So we're seeing it together for the first time as well. I have to say, my opinions on Mary, still harsh. No, we do not like Mary. Whether Mary can stay married is a question for her and Jack to answer. But I'm still pissed at Jack and Mary along on OP's son's behalf. I'm really glad that OP is sticking by his son because not many parents would be willing to do it, surprisingly. Because I think it's one thing to be brave and stick up for your son in front of strangers, but to do so in front of family members, that requires a different level of courage. Especially because you probably have a lot of habits ingrained and hangouts and traditions and things that would be really hard to give up at first glance or first thought. So, really good on you, OP, for doing that. I'm glad Leo's doing well. And maybe Leo will find it in his heart to forgive Jack one day. Maybe he won't, but I think it's up to Leo to decide. So I'm glad that's the approach they're taking. I'm glad. And I guess one really good thing that came out of it is that OP's spending more father-son time with his son. I think a little one-on-one time would be nice. So really happy for you, OP. And those are all of our stories today. If you guys enjoyed this episode, don't forget to smash the like button and hit subscribe. Let's get us to 3K, guys. And if you're listening to me on Spotify, don't forget to rate me 5 stars. Rate me 5 stars like you would rate Hell's Kitchen, Gordon Ramsay's menu. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya!